Welcome to Gene and Mike do the New York Times crossword.
Hi, I'm Gene.
And I'm Mike. And today we are doing the crossword for Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. Did you do the crossword?
I did.
And what did you think?
It was a confounding theme for me.
Ah, okay.
But I eventually figured it out.
Good.
And when I did, I got the puzzle done, and I kind of marveled at the fact that somebody could actually put one like this together.
Mm-hmm.
Very clever.
It was extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. And this was done by Adam Wagner.
Yes.
Whose name we have seen before.
Yes, indeed.
And he always has a good puzzle.
And this one is a real stunner.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tackle the theme since it's just sort of staring us in the face as we look at the grid.
I will try. But when you look at the puzzle, it's kind of daunting because there are four columns, 2 down and 3 down, 9 down and 10 down. And those columns are shaded in a checkerboard fashion. So with 2 down, it starts with a dark square, then a light square, then a dark square, then a light square. And 3 down, it starts with a light square, then a dark square, then a light square, then a dark square, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the bottom of the puzzle. And it's divided right in the middle with some black squares. And that is where the revealer clue is, between those black squares that divide the line 2 and 3, or the columns 2 and 3, and the columns of 9 and 10 down. And so the clue there is 32 across, which is hairstyle worn by Janet Jackson in the 1993 film Poetic Justice, with a hint to entering 4 pairs of answers in this puzzle. And right away, it's like the 1993 film Poetic Justice.
Mm-hmm. Do
you recall that film?
I have a poster on my wall, so of course I do.
Well, anyway, I did not.
Okay.
But the answer was box braids. She wore her hair in box braids. And that is precisely what you had to do with the answers to 2 and 3 and 9 and 10 down, and then their counterparts at the bottom of the puzzle, which are 35 and 36 down and 38 and 39 down. You had to braid the 2 answers in those columns in order to solve the problem.
Right.
So the first column, 2 down, the clue was academic achievements, and the answer to that was degrees. And 3 down, the clue was doesn't allow, and the answer was forbids. But you didn't write those answers straight down the columns. You had to braid them. So the degrees all the letters for the degrees were written in the dark shaded squares in those 2 columns, and the answer forbids, all the letters were written in the light squares of those 2 columns. And if you did that, all the acrosses would be answered correctly.
Based on the clues.
Yeah, based on the clues. They fit perfectly. But the amazing thing was you still got real words in the 2 down and the 3 down columns if you just went straight down. So when you braid degrees and forbids together, 2 down is read as dog beds. So you have the D of degrees, the O of forbids, the G of degrees, the B of forbids, the E of degrees, the D of forbids, and the S of degrees. So it was dog beds. 3 down, if you read it straight down, it was ferries, as in ferry boats. But if you looked at it in a braided fashion, looking at all the dark squares going down, it read degrees. you look at all the white squares going down, it read forbids.
Yes.
So that was the theme.
Right.
Just amazing. And I had some trouble because, I got the clue, the revealer clue, box braids. And so I thought, oh, it's wanting you to maybe, braid some of the one word maybe around others. But I still tried to keep at least one of them going straight down, which was dumb.
You mean
because then all the acrosses, the answers weren't correct. Like, for example, 20 across for 9 and 10 down, we had 9 down was available as an apartment. The answer there was for rent. And 10 down, the answer was brimming with, and the answer was teeming, or the clue was brimming with,
right.
And the answer was teeming. And so those braided together. So if you looked straight down 9, you had the word ferment. And if you look straight down 10, you had the words toe ring, but you had braided together for rent and teeming. Well, 20 across involved 2 of those letters, and it was 80s celeb who aptly appeared on Letterman. Well, the answer to that was Mr. T.
Right.
And it was the M from teeming and the R, the second R, in for rent. But for some reason I thought, I'm going to have to switch those around. So I had RMT instead of MRT. And I just sort of thought, well, some of those acrosses, they're just not going to read correctly. But, of course, that was kind of crazy because why would you do that in a crossword, give the clue, and then not give the ability to give the right answer? So.
Ooh, I know the answer to that one because I did exactly the same thing.
Oh, really?
What I did, I looked at 2, for instance, let's go back to 2 and 3 down.
Okay.
2 down was supposed to be academic achievements, degrees. I wrote degrees. 3 down, it said doesn't allow. I wrote forbids.
Uh-huh.
And so, as you say, if you put the answers where they're supposed to be, then the acrosses don't work.
No.
You get T-O shoe as opposed to a toe shoe.
Right.
You get, for 17 across, let's see, that involved Highlands Hillside. Instead of a bray, you get Arbe, which makes no sense. And, of course, for 25 across, flattering verses, instead of odes, you get OEDS,
right.
Like Oxford English Dictionaries, plural.
Right.
So, but I went ahead and did that and saw, well, look, if I did that, then if I read the gray squares, I got dog beds, and if I read the white squares as they were going down in that checkerboard pattern, I got fairies.
Right.
I thought, how interesting. So in my case, the downs were correct, the acrosses were broken. In the way you did it here, the acrosses, the way that Adam constructed the crossword is if you filled in the answers as he wanted them to fill in, then the acrosses were correct. So 11 down, quirky bit of running footwear was toe shoe, not T-O shoe.
Yeah, 11 across. Yeah.
11 across. And 29 across, the flattering verses again was odes, not OEDS.
Right.
But then the downs also worked as words,
real words,
as
yeah.
real words if you read them, and of course if you read them in following that braided pattern, then you had the correct answers as he intended.
Right.
But yeah, it was a masterpiece of construction. But
it really was.
But you had 2 ways in which you could fill it in, and it seemed to me that both were valid. Except only one got the happy music.
Yeah, well, only one got all the words across correct. And, that's a lot of the puzzle where the words are incorrect if you did it just writing the right answer straight down the columns rather than braiding the 2 answers together.
Right. And in my defense, I'm sort of wobbly on the whole concept of braids. And so I don't have enough, perhaps I don't have enough brains to appreciate braids. And so I was like, okay, there seems to be a zigzag pattern here. 2 zigzag patterns, I guess.
Yeah, it is a zigzag pattern. So.
But it was this only took me an hour and 11 minutes and 47 seconds. About maybe an hour to figure out what I had done wrong because I kept looking at all these answers. I'd be like 52 across, what banana bread is often baked in? The answer was loaf pan. I'm like, is that correct? I was a little bit iffy about that. 30 across, tiniest change was dimes. And I'm like, dimes, that isn't the tiniest change. The tiniest change is a penny. But maybe they meant the thinnest. I don't know. And there were a variety of places where I was a little bit unsure. Is it, for example, 18 across, what a king might sit on, slats. That was very funny.
Oh yeah.
And there are lots of places throughout the grid. Many a download. I had GIF, I have PNG, and then I eventually got to PDF.
I put app.
Oh, that's also good. Yeah, there's so many 3-letter downloadable things.
Well, and I think they've used app before. So.
Yes. I think they've used all of those at some point. I did like 27 down, iconic declaration from Bruce Wayne, I'm Batman.
Yes.
I'm not sure who he declares that to.
I don't know.
But 38 across, the government agency with the motto, fidelity, bravery, integrity, FBI.
Right.
I had no idea. I thought it stood for Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Well, that's what it stands for.
But that's their motto.
That's their motto, yes.
What do they call that? A backronym? When they worked the acronym backwards? I know, backronym. That's it. That's definitely a backronym.
5 down was interesting. Member of an Australian mob, colloquially. Roo.
Right.
I guess kangaroos are mobs.
I suppose so.
I know they have a lot of them down there. So.
And actually, even 4 across, rugby equivalent of a touchdown is try.
Try, yes.
That sounded right once I got it, but I did not know that to start. I liked 7 across. Who said of himself in 1912, no one candidate was ever elected ex-president by such a large majority? Taft. That was great.
Yeah.
The person the fact that he could lose so graciously is impressive.
Yes, definitely. Oh.
A dangerous thing to assume. 26 across was risk.
Yes.
And 29 across, one hawing but not hemming was an ass. That was sort of amusing. So, there were lots of good clues in this crossword, but they all seemed sort of subservient and just, almost an afterthought compared to that massively complex theme.
Yes. And there were 2 clues that were the same clue. 22 down and 57 across were both food brand with a rabbit mascot. And I'm like, I can't think of any food brands with a rabbit mascot. But then 22 down was tricks. I'm like, oh, of course, crazy rabbit. And 57 across was Annie's, which is a vegetarian food company that uses a rabbit in their logo. So anyway, yeah, that sort of stumped me too.
Trying to think if there's anything else here.
28 down. Initialism before an online summary. TLDR.
Too long, didn't read.
I know. I had to look that up. I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, yeah. It gets used a lot. I've started using it. It's very, it's very handy when you need to sort of summarize something. You write a big paragraph and no one's going to read it. So underneath it, you just write TLDR. Or actually, I guess you should put it up front because otherwise they'll never get to the TLDR part.
Well, but then you're encouraging them not to read it.
Well, they won't. And so since they won't read it anyways, you may as well at least give them a summary and hope that they read the summary. But then, of course, if they don't read the summary, then you need a TLDR. Too long, didn't read, the too long, didn't read. You just need one word, help, or good, or something. That's how far we have fallen as a species.
Okay.
Considering with all the social media and all the talking that goes on in this world, it's amazing how impatient people are to cut to the chase. Anyways, enough philosophizing here. Chi-Chi, 47 down, was artsy.
Right.
I was astonished by that.
Yes, I had never heard.
I thought Chi-Chi was a fake Mexican restaurant or something.
It was back in the 80s.
I guess not fake fake Mexican, but sort of Mexican-like.
It was Mexican. But
okay.
I don't think it was authentic.
Right. So, all right. Well, this was a grand crossword by Adam Wagner.
Yes, it was.
Definitely worth 5 squares on the Jam CR scale. And that is it for today. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Remember, tell all your friends about us on social media. And we will be back again with our in-depth analysis of tomorrow's crossword tomorrow.
Bye-bye.